Yo, what's up guys, Trey back again here to bring you another video. This one I'm going to be doing a video review of The Walking Dead Triggerfinger Episode 9 Season 2 after our last episode. Very exciting. Got to see, Rick step up, become that badass, and put down those two guys from Philadelphia. So this episode we start off pretty much getting to see, right after that leaves off, the group outside that we've seen the preview for last week. Lori KO'd pretty much in the car. Right from the beginning, some really exciting action, some really cool stuff. You get to see the zombie. This was some great effects on the zombie gnawing. It's kind of like gnawing through the glass. By the way, this review will contain spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen the episode yet. Head on over to ISO Hunt. You can find it. Walking Dead Triggerfinger. Download it, watch it, come back and watch this review. So, yeah, the zombie gnawing on the glass like that, the sounds it was making was pretty scary, man. It was very cool. One of the more scarier moments we've had in the Walking Dead show. I don't know about the angle. Sometimes it was hard with the way they shot it. A little hard to tell what was going on and where it was what. And it was really dark. It was at nighttime, so it makes sense. But just that's something right there. It's just it was maybe a little too dark, hard to see a lot of what was going on in some of the scenes. Zombie kill of the week right off the bat. Pretty much it's a no-brainer. Goes to Lori with a double kill in the car. And last week people were saying they're like, oh, no, there was 2 zombie kills. Lori ran over the zombie. No. Got hit in the head. You see the zombie came back. The one that she hit was the second zombie that came back and came at her from behind that she shot in the head with the gun. So close call on her part there. Exciting scene, very exciting scene. Even more exciting than that was the part with Rick and the guys in the bar and sort of like what do they do? What are they going to do? And it all comes down to Rick's character, which is very cool. Even though he did that last week, that doesn't mean he's totally insensitive, and doesn't mean he's he's going to just start gunning down people. He gives the group a chance, even though he puts himself at risk, and he lets them know basically that they don't have to do this. They can go their own way, and the group, Rick's group, Hershal and Glenn can go theirs, and have that be it. Tells them that their group members are dead, and that they can leave, and everything will be fine. And of course, the guys don't listen, and they pretty much come at him. It looks like there was 3 guys, as far as I could see. Pretty sure 3, maybe 4. Was it 3 or 4? 3. I want to say 3. 3 other guys. So you've got the you've got Glenn checks out the back room. Oh, but before that, they try to pry the door open. Glenn gets in the way of the door, which pushes the door in. Which I don't necessarily know if that was the best thing to do in that situation. I thought that Rick was just from the acting, it seemed like Rick was going to let them in, and then just blast them away pretty much. But I think that Rick still. He's not a murderer. He's trying to maintain that sense of self-righteousness, and we're going to come back to this a lot later on because there's other things happening in this episode that, what I mean, we're going to be talking about Rick and his sense of self-righteousness and his morals and that kind of stuff because, the decision later on that he makes really brings up a lot of things with that. This is a heavily interesting episode, very thought-provoking, so this will probably be a good review. And as always, feel free to comment, guys, because lots of stuff to talk about in this episode. So going on from there. So yeah, Glenn props the door, or doesn't let them in. And Rick's like, shit, you know what I mean? You should let him in so I could have blasted him, this kind of stuff if I had to. Turns into an all-out gunfight. You've got the kid on the roof, Randle across the street. His name is. You've got the one guy with the gun who shoots at Glenn but misses, as I predicted last week. He was going to shoot at him, but he missed. And then Hershal stepping up big in this episode, man. Taking that guy down. Later on, I'm going to talk a lot about Hershal's character because he does a lot of cool things in this episode. Yeah, shoots the guy right down, and then the zombies start coming, and the group pretty much the last guy in the group who's in the truck leaves, and the kid on the top jumps down and ends up landing on like what was it, like some kind of metal fence or something, and a spike from it goes through his left leg, so he's pretty much just paralyzed there. He can't leave, he can't move, and it's kind of type of shape. It's a pyramid at the top or a triangle at the top, and then part that comes down, so his leg goes in. So taking it out is sort of like a fish hook. So then you come to the decision of did they do the right thing with saving this Randle kid, which is something that we can talk a lot about. In that scene right there, I think that Hershal had the best idea for that time. Okay, so in that situation, you got zombies all around, you run out of ammo, this kind of stuff. There was another group around you. it looks like there's three guys, but you don't know for sure. Three other guys, but you don't know for sure. And you know, they kind of stay around to help this kid, and even though he'll be pretty much paralyzed, it looks like, because you know, taking that out and stuff, his leg, he's not going to be a runner, that's for sure, you know, afterwards. So, and in that type of world, man, he's basically effed. Basically, that's all there is to it. He's screwed. So, you know, Hershal says we should put him down. I agree with Hershal. They should have put him. They should have put him down, no question about it, and just left right away. I think they made the worst, like maybe, well, the worst decision possible. I don't know, because you see, it comes down to you know, Rick wants to maintain that sense of self-righteousness. He doesn't want to, you know, become that person that does these type of things. But in that situation, I got to go with Hershal. They probably should have put him down. I think. I don't think there's any question about that. You don't want to just leave him there, because then he'd just be zombie food, which is kind of cruel. But at the same time, you know, you can't really take him. I mean, they did, but it's not a good idea in my opinion. So yeah, that's that. Moving on from there, we pretty much get to see you know, Shane on, you know, other stuff going on the side. Shane finds out Laurie's gone, goes after Laurie, saves her pretty much, and brings her back. You know, Shane, for everything he does, you know, he keeps the group safe. He really does. He always tries to keep the group safe, especially Laurie and Carl and the baby, but the others too. You know, he always looks after his own, you know, and he's basically has that attitude: screw everybody else, take care of the people in the group. So, you know, I think that that says a lot about Shane's character, and you know, making a case. I did a video a while ago talking about who's the better leader, Rick or Shane, and I think that, you know, like, man, when we get into this situation, you know, after, you know, I think Shane was hastily in his decisions that he made at the farm with the barn, but I think that he's pretty much shown now that he is, you know, very equipped to be a good leader. Maybe better in a lot of ways than Rick. I mean, you know, they're both better at different things, but a lot of times I find that I agree with Shane in the decisions he makes. So he saves Laurie, lies to her, okay, which, you know, yeah, I mean, it's the right decision to make. You know, lying, you know, yeah, Shane sometimes does things like that, but, you know, you can't let her go off in the middle of the night and she's just being ridiculous. You know, you have to bring her to the back to the camp, basically. So yeah, so that's that. Moving on from there, we get to see the guys come back. We get to see a scene between Daryl and Carol. And Daryl's basically going off on Carol, probably because mostly, you know, Daryl's a loner at heart. It's just the way it is. And also he feels somewhat responsible for the situation with Sophia, that he wasn't able to find her, he wasn't able to save her, and he's trying to, you know, he's just kind of venting from that, and he just deals with it in a different way. And you know, Carol at this point is in the type of situation where her character's pretty much lost everything. Yeah, she's lost absolutely everything. So I think I'm going to make a prediction that I think Carol in the next few episodes, I think she'll either commit suicide or she will, you know, just not try very hard to live or get herself into some bad situations. I think Carol's number's almost up. I really, really do. So that's that, and I think Daryl, you know, furthermore, is going to feel even more you know, depressed that he yelled at her and this kind of stuff if that comes about. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what happens with that. But, you know, that's just the way Daryl deals with things. You know, he's just kind of a loner at heart, and he feels responsible for the situation with Sophia, even though he's not really responsible. But, you know, he took on that mantle. He tried to find her, couldn't. So, you know, now obviously he's depressed and, you know, doesn't feel too good about it. Okay, going on from there. So yeah, so then we end the episode pretty much with you know, some talking back at the camp. They bring Randle back. Hershal helps him out to the point, and the plan going forward is going to be that they basically let you know, after Randle's and he can walk, they're gonna you know, let him go basically. Shane has a problem with it, you know what I mean? Because he's like, well, you can't do that, you know, you can't, because then, you know, they did have him blindfolded, but you know, I mean, man, you know, I don't know what to do with that situation. I don't know who's right. But anyway, Shane comes in and he says basically, you know, he's pointing out how bad of a decision they made by saving this guy. Even though Rick has that, you know, he's still the hero at heart. You know what I mean? He still tries to do the right thing in every situation. You know, he's battling with that sense of self-righteousness still, because he is a police officer, and he's more importantly than just that, because anyone can be a police officer, but he's a good person. You know what I mean? And he has very strong morals. You can tell he cares about people. He wants to help people. He's the true hero at heart. So, you know, he couldn't just leave that kid there like that. At the same time, you know, like, what do you do with them? It's very interesting topic for sure. And I think I gotta go with Shane on this one. Like, you know, I think they should have put him down. I don't think they should have brought him back. You know, because it's going to lead to a lot of trouble for them. Like, what are they going to do with him? They're going to release him out there on his own. Well, he's dead if they do that, or he'll maybe try to find the camp, that kind of stuff that he was at before. They're going to give him supplies, like, you know, ammo and stuff, and maybe some food and water. Like, you know, man, I don't know, man. So, but, you know, that's the whole thing. You know, Rick's being kind about it and trying to do the right thing, the morally right thing, but not what's best for them in their survival situation. So, interesting there. A part that I loved right after that was where Hershal basically steps up to Shane and basically lays down the law. Like, you know, like, this is his farm, and, you know, if it wasn't for Rick, Shane wouldn't even be there. He'd be gone a long time ago. Hershal would have him off his farm, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, good stuff, man. I think, you know, a lot of people, they hate Hershal. They hate Hershal. They hate his character. And to me, I'm just like, in this episode especially, you know, he really stepped up. I mean, he saved Glenn by shooting that guy. He's very valuable in terms of what he knows how to do. He's equipped medically. He's able to produce food because he's a farmer. He's got, you know, a good property and a good place. Maybe not the best place in the world, the most secure, but it's pretty good, you know, out there on that farm. So I personally think Hershal's a great character, and I agreed with most of his decision-making in this episode. Actually, pretty much all of it. You know, they should have put him down, and, you know, putting Shane in his place. You know what I mean? That was cool to see, because Shane, even though Shane does the right thing a lot of times, and he's a good leader, you know, he gets too emotional, and that leads to bad decision-making and hastiness and stupid things that he does. Not dealing with things the right way, and insensitivity towards others, complete insensitivity towards others. I think that there's a, you know, fine line between you got to be insensitive, or you got to be, you know, insensitive to a certain extent, but you don't want to be completely insensitive where, you know, Hershal's zombie family is in the barn and you open up and you start blasting everybody. So the thing is that Shane, with his insensitivity, being too insensitive, is making a lot of enemies. Think about it. You know, Dale hates Shane, Hershal hates Shane, and Rick, okay, doesn't really hate Shane, but now that Lori is being manipulative and this kind of stuff, and let's just get into that real quick, and then we'll go over, you know, all the characters right after this and talk about how they did in this episode. So, finishing the episode out, you get to see Lori and Rick in the tent, and, you know, Lori just, you know, I didn't like the scene. I didn't like the scene at all because they had this background music to it that was, you know, like that like, you know, like stirring of the pot, you know, tension building. But the way the music was, I didn't care for the music, personally. To me, it felt a little bit cheesy, and I didn't like that. Lori, too, you know, I mean, I guess it makes sense for the plot, but the music, I think, is what killed it for me in the last scene. It just made it feel a little bit cheesy. If you guys were paying attention, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you get to see Lori, and man, Lori is such a piece of trash in The Walking Dead. Not even just this episode. Every single episode. You know, I like her less and less and less. She's just horrible, man. She's just a terrible character, a terrible person. I cannot stand Lori's character in The Walking Dead. I can't stand her, man. She drives me crazy. I hate her so much because, you know, the things she does, and you know, going both ways, and the things she was saying to Rick at the end about Shane being so dangerous and all this kind of stuff, and about him, you know, I don't know, man. She's just a, you know, gossip queen, and she's causing problems. And the thing is that they might not want to admit it. And yeah, Shane can be a little bit dangerous and may get 1 or 2 people killed, but he is very useful to the group, extremely useful to the group. And, you know, I think Andrew's right about that. If Shane were to leave, you know, he is very good as, you know, not even in terms of command, because right now he's assumed the second in command role, so to speak. But he's very useful to have around. He's strong, he's athletic, he can kill zombies, he can protect, you know, the people there. He's saved members of the group on numerous occasions, like Lori a couple times, you know, kept everybody safe and fed, and made a lot of good decisions along the way. So, you know, I don't know. I guess it just depends. But definitely, this is going to be leading up to the whole Rick versus Shane thing going on. So that'll be cool. To go over the characters real quick. So yeah, Lori's a piece of garbage. She's a parasite. I can't stand her. Rick's character is very cool. I like the fact that he's got that inner turmoil with the sense of self-righteousness, at the same time the loss of humanity, the moral considerations, his ethics from him being the quote-unquote hero, the decision they made with Randle by taking him back, and what that's going to lead to. Be very exciting to see what happens with that. Trying not to be completely insensitive to others, but at the same time, giving them a chance, saying, hey, we don't. This doesn't have to be a gunfight. You can leave. They're dead, and everything will be. You'll get away. We'll get away, and that'll be it. So Rick, he's got that inner battle going on, and I dig that. I think that's very interesting for his character in every sense of the word. So good development for him this episode. Very cool stuff with him this episode. Then we got Shane. Again with Shane, very interesting stuff. Like I said, I think he makes a lot of the right decisions along the way. He rubs people the wrong way, literally and figuratively. He causes problems with people in the group, and he's completely insensitive to anyone outside the group, completely, which might not be a bad thing, might be a good thing. But he's a good protector. He is a little hot-headed. He does get a little bit angry, but he takes care of the people in the group primarily first. So, that's very interesting stuff. Going to be exciting to see next week. If you guys saw the preview, Rick versus Shane type thing where they start fighting and this kind of stuff. And we'll see with the season finale. I wouldn't be surprised if Shane gets offed in the next few episodes. But I'd like to see, I'd actually like to see Shane stick around for the third season. If we can get it, I would like to see Shane stay alive. I don't want him to die, even though he's going to have a situation with Rick. I think it'd be good if he didn't die. So that's my opinion on that. I think there's a good chance, it's probably 50-50, whether they're going to kill him by the end of this season and make it a season finale. Rather than that, I'd like to see Merle or one of those other characters come in and have that be the season finale. I don't want to see Shane die, but I think there's a good chance it could happen. Yeah, so that's Shane's character. Let's see. Hershal stepping up big in this episode, like I said earlier, laying down the law with Shane, letting him know that it's his, this is his property, this is his house, his food, all this stuff, and Shane's got to, keep his mouth shut. All there was to it. Good decision making by him, saving Glenn, tossing it out there. Maybe we'll have to put this kid down. This kind of stuff. Man, Hershal's a great character in this show, and I'd like to see him survive for a while. I think it makes sense because he's very useful, to everybody in the group. Yeah, everybody, especially Rick, but the others as well for food and everything like that. So, very cool character. Glenn toughens up a bit in this episode. We got to see he's still kind of that scared kid inside, but at the same time, we got to see him do some cool things this episode and some, talking between him and Maggie and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of, whatever. Anyway, it's got to happen, it's got to be there. So, and then Dale, interesting stuff with Dale, but, we didn't get a lot of stuff with him this episode. Pretty much we just got him, just again, I hate Shane. Same old story. I hate Shane. I can't stand Shane. He's going to get somebody killed. Yada yada yada. I can't stand him. I hate him. And it's kind of hard to tell whether or not it's the situation with Andrea and what happened between, because he knows he's smart enough with just being able to tell that what probably happened between Shane and Andrea. He hates the fact that Andrea actually likes Shane, and so it's hard to tell whether or not he's being selfish or unselfish. I think it's kind of half and half. I think somewhat he's being selfish because he knows that the other, like Andrea, and Shane, that obviously, causes problems for him. So that's the selfish part. But the unselfish part is that, Shane does do some things that are insensitive, and he is dangerous in certain ways, especially right now because the way he's being treated by everybody. I mean, he's getting the short end of the stick like crazy. Carol, as I said earlier, I think I think she's the Walking Dead, man. She's going to be dead soon, no question about it. I think she's probably going to commit suicide before the season finale, or just not care and just get killed or eaten or something. That's pretty much it. Then we got Randle, the new character, who's just a kid, and what are they going to do with him? It's going to be very exciting to see what they're going to do with him. If they're going to just let him go on his way, Shane's going to try to go out and put him down or something. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's very interesting for the next few episodes to see what will happen with that. sort of a semi-resolution now that everybody's back at the camp, and we'll see with the next episode how things proceed from here. Very cool stuff. So yeah, Rick versus Shane next week. That's going to be starting. Lori sucks. That's that's no question. Never rub another man's rhubarb. That's all I got to say about that. Old Jack quote there. So this episode, very exciting, very thought-provoking, good character development. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was a great episode overall. Very enjoyable. As I said, lots of stuff to talk about. I don't know how long this video is yet, like 20 minutes. So very thought-provoking, exciting episode. Really going to be stoked to see what happens with the season finale. Walking Dead Triggerfinger gets a 9 out of 10 from Trev. Later, guys. See you for the next one. Peace.